I never thought I would witness something so terrifying in my life. When Esther's secrets came to light, it sent chills down my spine. I had known Esther and her husband Tunde for years. They were the perfect couple, or so I thought. Esther and Tunde lived in a bustling part of Lagos. Tunde was a successful businessman, and Esther was known for her beauty and charm. She always wore a turban, a stylish accessory that everyone admired. No one ever questioned it. I started noticing strange things about Esther when I moved into the apartment next to theirs. At night, I would hear whispers and strange noises coming from their flat. Tunde seemed more tired and stressed each day. One night, I ran into Tunde in the hallway. He looked haggard, his eyes sunken and bloodshot. I asked if everything was all right, and he just nodded weakly, avoiding eye contact. Something was clearly wrong. I often wondered why Esther never removed her turban, not even at home. She wore it to sleep, to shower always. It seemed odd, but who was I to judge? People have their quirks. The whispering at night grew louder. I could hear Esther talking to someone, but I could never make out the words. Tunde's condition worsened. He was losing weight and looked perpetually haunted. One evening, I overheard a heated argument. Tunde was shouting something about Esther's turban. "Why won't you take it off?" he yelled. Esther's response was cold and quiet, almost inhuman. I noticed a scar on Tunde's arm the next day. He tried to hide it, but it was clear something had attacked him. I asked what happened, but he just shook his head and said he fell. One night I heard a loud crash. I rushed to my window and saw a dark figure slip out of Esther and Tunde's window. I couldn't see its face, but it moved with a strange, airy grace. The next morning, Tunde came to me, his face ashen. He finally opened up. "Esther has horns," he whispered, his voice trembling. "I have seen them. She hides them under her turban." Tunde explained that he accidentally saw the horns one night when Esther's turban slipped off while she was asleep. They were small but sharp, protruding from her scalp. Tunde confronted Esther about the horns, demanding an explanation. She just smiled, a chilling smile that sent shivers down his spine. "You married me for better for worse," she said. Tunde stopped sleeping. He was too afraid of what Esther might do. He started staying out late, coming home only when he knew she was asleep. But he couldn't avoid her forever. Tunde started showing up with more bruises and cuts. He claimed they were from work, but I knew better. Esther's grip on him was tightening, and there was nothing he could do. One night, Tunde knocked on my door, desperate and scared. "I don't know what to do," he said. "She's not human. She's something else. She says I can't leave her." Tunde revealed that Esther performed strange rituals at night. She would chant in an unknown language, her eyes glowing in the dark. He was terrified, feeling trapped in his own home. Tunde decided to investigate Esther's past. He contacted her family, only to discover that they were all dead. No one knew much about her before she moved to Lagos. In desperation, Tunde visited a local witch doctor. The man warned him that Esther was a powerful being, bound by the ancient dark magic. "You must leave her," he said, "but it won't be easy." Tunde and I devised a plan to get him away from Esther. We decided to leave the city secretly, but Esther always seemed to know what we were planning. She was always one step ahead. The night before we were to leave, Esther confronted Tunde. "You can't leave me," she hissed. "We are bound together forever." Her horns seemed to grow longer as she spoke. That night, I heard screams coming out from the apartment. I rushed over to find Tunde on the floor, bleeding from deep gashes. Esther stood over him, her horns glistering with blood. I took Tunde to the hospital, but he refused to tell the doctors the truth. "She'll come for me if I say anything," he whispered, his eyes wide with fear. The witch doctor came to the hospital. He performed a protection ritual for Tunde, but warned him that Esther's power was too great. You must find a way to break the bond, he said. We started searching ancient African folklore, trying to find a way to break the bond. We learnt about horned spirits and the dark pacts they made with humans. We discovered that Esther's family had made a pact with a powerful spirit generations ago. In exchange for wealth and power, they agreed to host the spirits within their bloodline. Tunde's research led him to a small village where Esther's ancestors once lived. The villagers spoke of a woman with horns who brought prosperity but at a terrible cost. An old woman in the village revealed a prophecy. The one who marries the horned woman must break the bond or perish, she said. Only true love and sacrifice can set him free. Tunde realized he had to confront Esther one last time. He needed to find a way to break the bond, even if it meant sacrificing himself. Tunde returned home, determined to face Esther. We need to talk, he said, his voice steady. Esther smiled, her horns glistening in the dim light. Tunde gave Esther an ultimatum. Release me from this bond, or I will find a way to break it myself. Esther's smile faded, replaced by a look of anger. That night, a fierce battle ensued. Esther's horns grew longer and sharper, but Tunde was determined. He used everything he had learned to fight back. In a desperate move, Tunde grabbed a knife and cut his hand, spilling his blood. I sacrificed myself to break this bond, he shouted. The room filled with blinding light. When the light faded, Esther was gone. Tunde lay on the floor unconscious but alive. The bond was broken, but at a great cost. Tunde spent weeks recovering in the hospital. The doctors were baffled by his injuries, but he refused to tell them the truth. He knew they wouldn't believe him. With Esther gone, Tunde finally found peace. The strange noises stopped and the apartment felt lighter. He could finally sleep without fear. One day, the witch doctor visited Tunde in the hospital. You did well, he said. The bond is broken, but you must always be vigilant. The spirit may seek revenge. Tunde returned home, but he was always on edge. He knew that Esther's spirit could return at any time. He kept the protection charm close and followed the witch doctor's advice. Strange things started happening again. Objects moved on their own, and Tunde felt a cold presence in the apartment. He knew that Esther's spirit was still around. Tunde strengthened the protection around his room. He used charms and ritual to keep Esther's spirit at bay. It seemed to work, but he knew it was only a matter of time. Tunde had a dream where Esther appeared to him. You cannot escape me, she whispered. We are bound forever. He woke up in a cold sweat, knowing she was right. The witch doctor warned Tunde that the bond might never be fully broken. You must always be vigilant, he said. The spirit is powerful and will try to return. Tunde lived in a constant vigilance. He never let his guard down, always watching for signs of Esther's return. It was a lonely and fearful existence. Years passed, and Tunde tried to move on. He met someone new, a kind and understanding woman named Amaka. She brought light back into his life, but he never told her about Esther and the horrors he had endured. He wanted to protect her from that darkness. Tunde and Amaka got married in a small, intimate ceremony. For the first time in years, Tunde felt truly happy. He believed that he had finally left the past behind and could start anew. Strange things began to happen again. It started with small incidents, objects moving, cold drafts in the house. Tunde tried to dismiss them, but the memories of Esther haunted him. One night, Tunde had a vivid dream. He saw Esther, her eyes glowing with anger, her horns longer and sharper than ever. You cannot escape me, she hissed. He woke up in a cold sweat, the terror gripping him once more. Tunde realized that the bond with Esther might never be fully broken. Her spirit was still connected to him, and she was not willing to let go. He had to find a way to protect Amaka. Tunde confided in Amaka about his past. She listened in shock but believed him. Together, they decided to visit the witch doctor again, hoping for a solution. The witch doctor prepared them for the final confrontation. "You must face Esther's spirit together," he said. "Only then can you truly be free." Tunde and Amaka prepared themselves for the battle that lay ahead. Tunde and Amaka performed the ritual as instructed. Esther's spirit appeared, furious and vengeful. "You cannot escape me," she screamed. But Tunde and Amaka stood firm, their love and determination shining through. In a final act of defiance, Tunde and Amaka called upon the power of their love to break the bond once and for all. A blinding light filled the room, and Esther's spirit screamed in agony. When the light faded, she was gone. The room felt lighter, and Tunde knew that they had finally succeeded. Tunde and Amaka embraced, relieved and exhausted. They knew that they had faced the darkness together and emerged victorious. The bond was broken, and they were free to live their lives without fear. With Esther's spirit finally vanquished, Tunde and Amaka began to rebuild their lives. They moved to a new part of Lagos, hoping to leave the past behind. Their new home was filled with light and laughter, a stark contrast to the darkness that had once enveloped them. Life returned to a semblance of normalcy. Tunde resumed his work and Amaka focused on her passion for teaching. They found joy in the little things, cherishing every moment together. However, the memories of Esther lingered in the back of Tunde's mind, a constant reminder of what they have overcome. One evening, there was a knock on their door. It was the witch doctor, his face grave. "I felt a disturbance," he said. "I need to check your home for any lingering dark energy." Tunde and Amaka allowed him in, worried that their ordeal might not be over. The witch doctor performed a thorough cleansing of their home, using a sacred herbs and chants. As he walked, he explained that while Esther's spirit was gone, traces of her dark energy could still linger. "You must remain vigilant," he warned. "Dark forces are always looking for a way back." That night, Tunde had a vision. He saw an ancient tree in a dense forest, its roots intertwined with glowing tendrils of light. He felt a sense of peace emanating from the tree, as if it held the key to their safety. When he awoke, he knew he had to find this tree. Tunde and Amaka embarked on a journey to find the tree from his vision. They traveled deep into the countryside, guided by Tunde's intuition and the witch doctor's cryptic instructions. Their journey was long, but they were determined to find the source of their protection. After days of traveling, they stumbled upon a hidden grove. In the center stood the ancient tree from Tunde's vision. It radiated a powerful energy, and they could feel its protective aura. The witch doctor had told them that this tree was a gateway to the spirit world, a place where they could seek further protection. Under the witch doctor's guidance, Tunde and Amaka performed the ritual of binding. They invoked the spirit of their ancestors, asking for protection and guidance. As they completed the ritual, they felt a surge of energy, as if the tree itself was acknowledging their plea. The spirit of the grove appeared before them, ethereal and glowing. They spoke in ancient tongues, but Tunde and Amaka understood their message. "You are now under our protection. No dark force shall harm you as long as you honor this sacred place." With the blessing of the guardian spirit, Tunde and Amaka returned home. They felt a renewed sense of peace and security, knowing that they were protected by ancient forces. Their lives resumed with a newfound serenity, free from the shadow of the past. Amaka soon discovered she was pregnant. The news brought immense joy to both her and Tunde. They saw it as a sign that their future was bright and filled with hope. They decided to honor the spirits by naming their child after one of the guardian spirits they had encountered. The day Amaka gave birth was filled with excitement and anticipation. They welcomed a healthy baby girl into the world. They named her Nkemdelim, which means let mine be. She was a symbol of their survival and the new life they have forged together. Tunde and Amaka vowed to teach Nkemdelim about their journey and the importance of honoring their ancestors. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.